today convened in special session to honor the memory of Judge Michael McCormick, former presiding judge of the Court of Criminal Appeals, who served this court and the legal profession with such great distinction. At this time, I recognize the Reverend Michael T. Wood, who will deliver the invocation.
Good morning. If it is your custom, I invite you to pray with me. God, our Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer, with whom still lives the spirits of those who die in the Lord, and with whom the souls of the faithful are in joy and felicity, we give you heartfelt thanks for the good example of your servant Michael and of all your servants who, having finished their course in faith, now find rest and refreshment. May we, with all who have gone before, run with patience the race set before us, all the while holding lightly to those things which are fading away and hold fast to those things heavenly as we draw near to you through our love for your creation and your created. We ask for your blessing upon all those who gather today in remembrance and thanksgiving of the good work and life of service offered by Michael McCormick on this day and every day. Amen.
Please be seated. I would like to begin by acknowledging some of our special guests. Judge McCormick's family is here in the front row. We have his wife, Kathy McCormick. Oh. Good morning. Can you hear me now?
You're just going to have to speak up.
I'll just speak up. I'd like to begin by acknowledging some of our special guests. Judge McCormick's family is here. In the front row, we have Kathy McCormick, his wife, their daughter Karen and her husband Jason Dilworth, Jason's brother John and his wife Cindy, Judge McCormick's son Kelly and Kelly's wife Elizabeth with their children Grace and Catherine. We have a lot of guests today. I have never seen the courtroom so full for a memorial service. I'm so glad you all are here, but there are some people in particular that I'd like to recognize. We welcome our former clerks Louise Pearson and Abel Acosta, Judges Daniel Gilliam, Fred Moore, John Lipscomb, Jan Breland, Ben Moore, and Ed Klein, District Attorneys, County Attorneys, and former DAs and County Attorneys Tom Bridges, Tully Shahan, Barry Maka, and Wes Mao. Executive Directors, past and present, for TDCAA, Rob Keppel, Tom Crumpets, Dane Whitworth, and Steve Dial. Executive Directors, past and present, for TCDLA, Betty Blackwell, John Convery, and Rick Hagan. From the State Bar, we have Deputy Executive Director Kaylin Laney. Also, Ryan Turner, Executive Director of TMCEC. I probably overlooked someone. If I have, I would appreciate you letting me know. But thank you all for being here. We're really so glad you could come. We owe special thanks to the State Bar. They are hosting a reception outside the courtroom after we adjourn, and we hope that you all will join us for that. In particular, I want to thank Kelly McCormick for helping plan this service. He and his family have been fantastic, and we really appreciate it. And finally, our thanks to our clerk, Dina Williamson, who's done a great job organizing this service. So our thanks to all the people who've contributed to this event to honor our colleague. We welcome you all, and we appreciate so much you being here to honor Judge McCormick. It's my privilege now to introduce Judge McCormick's son, Kelly McCormick. Kelly?
May it please, court. Is this on? Can y'all hear me? Okay. I was trying to think about what I was going to say about Dad, about Judge McCormick, about Pop-Pops, about had a lot of names. And what I kept coming back to were the memories of this place. I remember being here on January 1st, 1981, and I know a number of y'all were here that day. And watching Dad stand up here with Mom and the family Bible and take the oath of office as a member of this honorable court. And I remember my sister and I at the reception afterwards trying to find our friends, the Killians, and so we could run around and play with them. I was 9, Karen was 7, 8 at the time, and I'm not sure I appreciated the magnitude of that day. But as the years went on, Dad would bring us, my sister and I, up here to help him work. And I remember my sister helping Doris with the typing and the filing and everything. Does the court still use 9 different colors of paper for their opinions?
Theoretically.
Theoretically.
Yeah,
Okay.
only 3 of us still use paper.
Okay. But one of the other things, and Judge McClure, you're actually lucky. There's probably only a handful of people in this room that remember this. The exit door was hidden. And at the swearing in January of 1981, Judge Marvin T. took the seat on the end. He couldn't find the door to get out. But I also remember being up here, and this is really where I think I learned to love the law. I'm a lawyer now down in South Texas. I've been practicing for 27 years. But hearing the stories of the briefing attorneys and the law clerks, going down in the old basement for the ping pong matches. I see Mr. Weisenberg over here laughing. But the ping pong, or watching the judges play hearts. I know there are a number of former briefing attorneys, research assistants, and interns that are here today. I'm going to ask now, if you worked for Dad, for Judge McCormick, would you please stand? Thank you so much. Not only what you did for Dad, for Judge McCormick, but what you did for my sister and I, and my mother. I know there were times that Mom was calling a briefing attorney or a research assistant at 10 o'clock at night saying, "Mike, don't forget to remind Michael of this." But the interesting thing that I also remember was, I always called it the Tarrant County Pipeline. There were so many of Dad's former briefing attorneys and research assistants and interns that eventually made their way to Tim Curry's office at the district attorney's office in Tarrant County up in Fort Worth and have gone on to amazing things in their legal career. One of the things I'm going to say about all of Dad's former staff, he loved y'all. He loved y'all. One of the other things I was remembering about as I was trying to put my words together for this day was Dad coming up to Austin in our old motorhome, loading the judges of the Court of Criminal Appeals and driving to the Arlington Bar Association, and I don't know if it was a golf tournament, and then after it was all over with, driving all the way back to Austin, dropping the judges off, and then him bringing the motorhome home. And Mom, I don't remember if it was when Dad became presiding judge, but he would invite the court out for the second Saturday in June to watch the Chisholm Trail Roundup Parade from our front porch and front yard. And then there there would be a barbecue in the backyard, and then there would be the World Championship washer pitching tournament. And I think we may have some past champions in the room. One of my most vivid memories was early November 1997. I walked into this courtroom and Dad swore me in as a licensed attorney. We were right here. And I didn't know it at the time, but that was a start of my legal career, my professional career, but it also led me to my personal career with my wife and 2 children seated there. Elizabeth, Catherine, Grace, thank y'all. Thank you so much. Dad passed away several months ago, and I miss my friend, my mentor, my father, my hunting buddy, and my dad. But I do know this. This court, Texas criminal jurisprudence, and the state of Texas are a better place because of my father.
Thank you, Kelly. I'd now like to introduce our next speaker, Roe Wilson.
You know, there's so many accomplishments that Judge McCormick had, and I really think that one of the most important ones was his influence on Texas jurisprudence, just like Kelly noted. He really began at the ground on it because he was a member of the drafting committee for the 1973 Penal Code. And if you look at the 1973 Penal Code, all the variations after it are really based on that. So he started out at the beginning as far as influencing Texas criminal jurisprudence. He also had tremendous foresight as a judge. He realized early in the 1990s that there was a lot of litigation in capital cases that were moving to the area of habeas corpus. And there were no statutory provisions. There wasn't a provision to appoint a judge. There weren't provisions for guidelines for filing writs, for writs going through the system. And Judge McCormick actively encouraged defense attorneys, prosecutors, people to get together and to go to the legislature so that we could have guidelines for something that's this complex and this important. And he was like that in all areas of the law. He could look ahead and he knew what needed to be done, and he worked on getting it done. But there was another quality to Judge McCormick that I think is just as important, and that is his kindness. I first encountered Judge Michael McCormick in the 1980s when I came to the Court of Criminal Appeals to do an oral argument. And when I began my argument, it very quickly became apparent to me that really what the judges wanted to talk about was not my case, but a case that had come out of Dallas a few days before. And I'm sure, as all of y'all are aware, judges don't always agree with each other. And I could tell by the questions that were being asked about the Dallas case, which I knew very little about, that they really just wanted to express their opinions to each other. And so it was kind of trial by fire, and I did the best I could. I don't think I did a very good job, but I did the best I could. But at the end of it, Judge McCormick looked me straight in the eye, and he smiled at me. And he said, "Dallas County should thank you for arguing their case for them." And I don't remember the facts of the case I argued. I don't remember what it was about. I don't even remember the outcome of the case. But over 30 years later, I remember the kindness that Judge McCormick showed me with one remark that he made from the bench. And I think that this is something, you always hear the expression, oh, he's the kind of person when you talk to talk to him, he makes you feel like you're the only person in the room. Well, that's Judge McCormick. When you talk to him, he made you feel that you were the only person in the room. He was interested in you, he showed that interest, and his kindness came through all of the time. I was very lucky that I was able to interact with him professionally. I was even luckier that I was able to interact with him personally and got to know him. And he will be greatly missed.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from Linda Eisenhower Ramirez.
Good morning. Please let me know if you can't hear. I tend to speak softly. My name is Linda Eisenhower Ramirez, and I am one of the former champion washer pitcher people from the Chisholm Trail Roundup, and I still have the little plaque that they gave me when I won the title, and I'm very proud of it. For the past 36 years, I've worked as a criminal defense attorney here in Austin, doing both trial and appellate work all over this state. And I was really honored when Kelly asked me if I would come speak about the judge. I hope that everyone who hears these words today gets a glimpse of the kind of man he was. And like you just said, what a kind man he was. He had a profound impact on my life, and he truly changed my life. And I want to tell you the story about that. Judge McCormick helped me love criminal law. I graduated from UT Law School in 1978 with the desire to become a great family law attorney. That was my dream. And so after graduating, I got married. My husband and I moved to Port Arthur, Texas, and I got a job at East Texas Legal Services practicing family law. It was a dream job. But we quickly realized that we did not want to stay in the Golden Triangle forever, and we tried to get back to Austin. And our agreement was that whoever got a job first, we would move. And so my husband got a job at the city attorney's office here, and we moved back to Austin, and I tried to find a family law job. And I was unsuccessful for the first couple months, but my old seatmate from law school, Jim James, was Judge McCormick's research assistant. And he called me one day and he said, Linda, our briefing attorney has failed the bar for the third time. We need to fill that spot for just a few months. So why don't you come talk to the judge? And I was like, Jim, I don't like criminal law. Criminal law was my lowest grade in law school. I have no interest in criminal law. But I went and I walked up to his office in the back hallway, back up there, and I met one of the nicest people I have ever met. He was charming. He was nice. And at the end of our meeting, he offered me the job, and I took it. I was only supposed to stay for 6 months. I ended up staying for 6.5 years. Jim got a job as a prosecutor in Brazos County, and so I moved up to the research assistant job, and that's where I learned to love criminal law. We had great discussions in the office about legal issues. He taught me how to think about cases. He taught me how to research, how to be fair, how to be just. He was a very just man and wanted the right outcome for every case. And I credit being here at the court and being his employee for teaching me and showing me how to love criminal law. I left the court in 1988 after being with him for 6.5 years and became a criminal defense attorney here in Austin. And 36 years later, I'm kind of winding down my practice, but it's been a great job. I love criminal law, and it's because of Judge McCormick. And so I'm really appreciative of that. I see a lot of really smiling faces back there. It's good to see everybody. I want to tell you one more story about Judge McCormick. Back in that time, I was a newlywed, fairly newlywed. And so during the time that I worked for Judge McCormick, I had 2 children. They're sitting in the front row right up here, Katie and Mike. And I was a new mom. I didn't have any family here, and I didn't quite prepare well for daycare. And so Judge McCormick let me bring my son to work for the first few weeks. And so we made a little bassinet in my little office right next to his office, and the baby would be there. Sometimes I would leave the room, go talk with Doris or do something like that. I'd come in, the baby would be gone, and he'd have the baby in his office. He would be sitting in his chair, rocking that baby. And then Katie was born 3 years later. We did the same thing, and he would frequently take that baby into his office. That's the kind of person he was. He was just kind. He loved his family. He loved family. And Kelly and Karen, when I knew you guys, and you did come up and work a lot at the office, you were in grade school. And he loved having you guys come up. And he loved his family so much. Watching the McCormick family was a real testament to me about what a family should be like. And it was a model for our family. And I really have appreciated that. The Chisholm Trail Roundup days were wonderful. We as a family would go out there and watch the parade, eat good food, and pitch washers, and that was great. And so I'm just really happy to be here today. He was a wonderful man, and someone that I feel totally indebted to for the way that my life has turned out. And I thank you for the McCormicks. He was a great servant for the state of Texas, a wonderful lawyer, and just a really good friend. Thank you very much.
Thank you. In closing, I want to take a moment of personal privilege and say a few words about Judge McCormick myself. When I was first elected to this court, I was one of 2 new judges, and so we flipped a coin to decide who was going to be the more senior judge, and I, quote, lost the flip, which meant that I had the privilege of sitting, we went in seniority around the table, so I got to sit next to Judge McCormick for the first 6 years I was here. And so it was really a blessing. I learned so much from him, and I agree with all the speakers. He was just the nicest man, and I admired him so much, and I always had. And to get to sit next to him and be on the court and learn from him was just such an honor and such a privilege. He's an exceptional man. He took me under his wing, and he taught me how to be a judge on this court. And he was an inspiration to me. And he was a friend. We used to go to lunch with Judge Bill White when I was first here, and I was just amazed that these people I admired so much would let me hang around with them at the Mexican restaurant at lunch, but they did, and they were both so nice to me. But I want to thank you all for being here. This really is an exceptional turnout, and thank you for being here to honor Judge McCormick. Following the service, as I mentioned, the State Bar is hosting a reception down the hall to the right as you leave the courtroom, and we hope to see you there. And now I'll call upon Reverend Woods for the benediction. Please stand.
God, you alone rule the world with justice, yet you place in our hands the solemn duty of participating in the shaping of our government. We give you thanks on this day for all those who bear the responsibility of holding the lives of many in their hands. We thank you for the women and men of this court. We also thank you for the men and women who have served this court in years past. In the example of Michael, help them and us to always seek your truth and give us the courage we need to do what is right. All this we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. The clerk will now adjourn the proceedings.
Oh, yeah.